Star Trek X Titanic, a new crossover is bringing Hollywood's most surprising IPs together. When Hollywood announces a crossover between two seemingly unrelated intellectual properties, the internet collectively holds its breath. And yet, the latest bombshell has fans scratching their heads in disbelief. Star Trek and Titanic. Yes, the beloved sci-fi universe of Starfleet officers and warp drives is apparently about to collide with James Cameron's tragic romance on the doomed luxury liner. On paper, it sounds absurd. So absurd, in fact, that it might just work. The story behind the crossover began as a speculative conversation in Hollywood's glossy coffee shops, where screenwriters often float ideas that sound ludicrous until a studio executive greenlights them. But in this case, Paramount Pictures and 20th Century Studios actually agreed to explore the impossible. A film and series hybrid that connects the temporal adventures of Star Trek with the historical disaster of the RMS Titanic. At first glance, the two universes couldn't be more different. Star Trek is all about exploring the final frontier, engaging in moral dilemmas, and imagining a utopian future where humanity has transcended greed and war. Titanic, on the other hand, is a tragic love story set against one of history's most famous maritime disasters. Yet, both stories share a central theme: the consequences of human hubris. In Star Trek, arrogance and short-sightedness often create conflicts with alien species or technological threats. On the Titanic, hubris manifests in human overconfidence, the belief that the unsinkable ship could never fail. In a way, the crossover isn't as far-fetched thematically as it first appears. According to sources close to production, the premise will involve the USS Enterprise encountering a temporal anomaly while on a routine patrol near the outer edges of the Sol system. The anomaly functions like a wormhole, transporting Captain Jean-Luc Picard, or in a modern twist, Captain Christopher Pike in a strange New World setup. Back to April 1912. The crew suddenly finds themselves orbiting Earth as the Titanic makes its fateful voyage across the Atlantic. Their mission? To observe, ensure history unfolds correctly, and, if possible, prevent an unnatural interference that threatens both the timeline and the space-time continuum itself. The creative minds behind the project insist this isn't a simple time travel rescue story. Instead, it's a nuanced narrative exploring how people confront fate. Starfleet officers, trained to calculate probabilities and adhere to the Prime Directive, suddenly face a situation where the laws of physics and history are non-negotiable. Meanwhile, Titanic's passengers, Jack, Rose, and the ensemble of characters, both historical and fictional, experience a world that seems to bend around them, with subtle science fiction elements creeping into their lives. Imagine a scene where a Starfleet officer subtly adjusts a lifeboat's trajectory to ensure someone survives, without altering history in noticeable ways. The ethical tension is palpable. Fans have already begun debating the casting implications. Do Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet return to reprise Jack and Rose, now interacting with the Star Trek universe? Or will the crossover introduce entirely new characters inspired by Titanic's world, allowing the original actors to bow out gracefully? Insider chatter suggests a mix of both. Iconic Titanic moments recreated with the help of digital technology, while the emotional heart of the story is carried by new characters, Starfleet officers and civilians, whose paths intersect with the historical events. One of the most exciting elements, however, is the potential for production design. Imagine the sleek corridors of the Enterprise juxtaposed with the grand, gilded halls of the Titanic. Costume designers face the unique challenge of blending early 20th century fashion with Starfleet uniforms, creating a visual aesthetic that feels seamless rather than jarring. Cinematographers have their work cut out for them too. Nighttime ocean vistas lit by both starlight and the Titanic's grand chandeliers, combined with futuristic starship interiors, could result in some of the most visually striking sequences in cinema history. Naturally, social media has exploded with speculation. Memes abound, from Picard face-palming at the Titanic's doomed voyage to Jack and Rose standing in awe on the deck as the Enterprise appears in the sky. While some purists cry sacrilege at the idea of mixing history with sci-fi, many others see it as an opportunity to explore both universes in fresh ways. After all, Star Trek has always embraced ambitious narratives, from Klingons invading 20th century Earth to Captain Kirk interacting with mythological figures. Time travel and alternate timelines are in its DNA. Ultimately, the Star Trek X Titanic crossover promises to be more than a gimmick. It's a bold experiment in storytelling, blending historical drama, sci-fi adventure, and human emotion in a way few would have dared imagine. The success of such a project hinges on balance, respecting the gravity of Titanic's tragedy while embracing Star Trek's optimistic and adventurous spirit. If executed well, this could be a landmark moment in cinematic history,